did permit Jews to ascend to the Temple Mount, and all rabbis agree that the Temple Mount itself is the holiest of places for Jewish people. What I would also say, it's not my place to tell a Muslim that Al-Aqsa is not the third holy site in Islam. I'm not a Muslim, I'm a Jew. Similarly, it's not the place for a Muslim to get involved in the different disputes between different Jewish authorities as to whether Jews have the right to pray at the Temple Mount. So it's more a question of you as a Muslim, not as a Jew. Do you believe, do you think it's acceptable that as the Temple Mount, Bayt al-Maqdis, Haram al-Sharif, is one of the holiest sites for the three Abrahamic faiths? You as a Muslim, can you, forgetting what certain rabbis will say or not say, can you accept Jews, Christians, atheists, anybody going up as long as they're respectful and praying to the Creator on Bayt al-Maqdis, in Haram al-Sharif?
Provided it is on the ownership of Muslims.
Why?
Because it has been historically, that's why.
But it was also historically owned by Jews, historically. And Bayt al-Maqdis comes from Bayt al-Mikdash. The term itself is a Jewish term. And it just seems staggering that you would deny. When the Jews had the Temple Mount, it was a place for all people. There was a section where everybody could pray.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to have to stop you there just because we're limited on time. So we're just going to move on to the next question.
I would be wondering if at any point you would be interested in doing an interview of some sort. I mean, would that be a possibility? Or
Look into that.
I'll email you, and you can look into what I do, and then you can decide.
I do have one question. Firstly, I'm secular, but I perfectly respect every. I have one question regarding BDS, because FOA, obviously, you're big supporters of BDS. BDS stands as a humanitarian movement, and it's all about equality. Okay, and that's basically the basis, both of point 1, 2, and 3. But that stands completely against everything you have just said, because what you're effectively saying is one of the things you would expect would be a degradation of the Jewish rights so that they effectively become subordinate within the areas that you view as holy within Jerusalem. Isn't that a complete contradiction of BDS?
No, I can see where you're coming from. I appreciate what you're thinking. But you see, what you have to understand, that the occupied people consider themselves totally impossible. They have no means. They have no means to resist Israeli occupation.
I understand.
And the only way for them and their supporters to bring Israel to a negotiation table, and this is a means of twisting Israel's arm to negotiation table. And we're very clear. FOA is very clear. The reason we support BDS movement is we want Israel to come to the negotiation table.
So you don't actually stand behind the humanitarian aspects of BDS at all?
No,
really?
We stand so that Israel can be brought to the negotiation. I mean, like this month, Paris, France offered Israel Netanyahu to come to it, and he refused.
Yes, I remember.
So how are we going to get Israel?
I accept that.
So that's my perspective. I accept your position. I see where you're coming from.
No, I accept
but
BDS.
This is how I think we can, by promoting.
But then there is a contradiction between what you're saying tonight and FOA's support of BDS. Because all you're doing is
you're asking for peace. How are we going?
Yeah, but not equality. But BDS is absolutely about equality. That's the central tenet of BDS, the central pillar. But it's not equal because you want the Jews to be subordinate to your rights within where you decide in Jerusalem.
No. It's for at the moment of the parity of power, to get Israel onto the negotiation table, for Israel to decide.
Yes, so it's a tactic.
It is a tactic. Yes.
But you don't actually support it. I get what you're saying, because what you're saying is we have no other way of strong-arming Israel.
Yeah.
But you don't actually stand behind the movement itself, because you're not really about equality. There's no way this is about equality. This is absolutely about degrading the Jewish right within Jerusalem, should you have the opportunity to decide which...
I think I was very, very clear on my personal view, as well as how I want Jerusalem to be solved, how I want the Palestinian-Israeli conflict to be solved, and it's the people on the ground that will decide. I am not deluded for 1 second that somebody with British citizenship, African origin, nothing to do with Arabs, will have a say in it. So I'm not deluded at all. Right?
Yeah.
This is my aspiration, that to bring those people together with the disparity of power, is to support the BDS movement so that Israel comes to the negotiation table and allows some sort of intermediaries to help them bring about reconciliation.
But that in itself, I get, and I accept that, and any way to get them to the table is fine.
That's
but
fine.
in effect, it's still
How do you extend? How is your slippage from asking Israel to come to a negotiation?
because BDS has demands, and BDS has principles, and the principle of BDS is humanitarian and equality for all. But this isn't about equality for all. Because you've already said that you will turn around and say Jews maybe, if they accept that the Muslims have superiority effectively over these, then so you're not in charge of when they pray and how they pray. But that's exactly what you said earlier when he asked the question.
But then if you draw those parallels, the living conditions of the Palestinians now,
I fully absolutely accept.
Okay, so
That's
how do you correct existing status quo then?
I'm not disputing. I accept that's your position. I accept that you see BDS as a way, effectively, of twisting the Israelis' arm to get them to the table. That I'm not questioning. I also believe absolutely and understand that the Palestinians are occupied. That that there has to be some kind of. I get all of that. What I'm trying to do is trying to bridge what seems to be a contradiction between FOA's support for BDS, which is a humanitarian movement that demands equality for all. So it's like you're saying, we want equality for all, so when we get that equality for all, the first thing we're going to do is degrade the Jewish right to pray in Jerusalem.
No, I've never said that.
That's exactly what you said, really.
About federal state, I have told about my paper.
You said, I'm sorry.
I have spoken about the federal state.
No, I understand that. I get that. Yes, I do. I understand that as well, the federal state. But you did say to him that he asked you a direct question about whether the Jews will be allowed to pray, and you said as long as they, as long as Muslims have control.
For me, I have
So that there is a control here, not equality.
the history itself proves to me that the Zionist state of Israel is not capable of giving equity to the people of the region. And you have just accepted.
Giving equity.
You have just accepted that.
I'm not arguing with you. I accept this is your point of view. No, I accept that the Palestinians at the moment are oppressed. Absolutely accept it.
We've also had the history of Christian rule. Same thing happened under Christian rule. I gave you two examples of Muslim rule when people had within a parity.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that I trust Abbas.
But I can also give you lots of examples under Muslim rule where there were major problems and massacres and so on. In fact, in 1929, this kind of argument that you use today about the breaking of the status quo in Jerusalem was used to bring about massacres in Hebron and Tzfat. So I also find.
You know what? We've got to kind of get short.
Okay. All right. Look, thank you very, very much, mate. Look after yourself.